Why did the chicken cross the road? To cash a same game parlay, baby. Welcome back in to another episode of Sports Gambling with Moneyline Monaco. It's an honor to be with you. It's an interesting week for your boy. We're traveling, we're at a wedding, we're a little off the grid, but we're really never off the grid. We know a guy who knows a guy. We're always locked in, Jerry. Don't worry about it. But the picks are coming to you on a Wednesday evening, and we are off and running. I will absolutely tell you, if you could still get a Philadelphia Eagles -3 short work week, take the favorite. You've seen it. It works out typically. Short turnaround week. Can the kid on the road go to a hostile Philly environment for his first sample size of the Philly special? I don't think so. I lean Philly if you do catch this before Thursday Night Football, but this is all about weekend dancing. Top 5 picks, premier matchups, couple of fascinating ones, all-time heavyweight dance, the historic rivalry of Steelers-Ravens. Let's get into it. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review. Goes a very long way. Appreciate you. Back-to-back cashing weekends for you. 3-2, 3-2 ATS. Hi, how are you? We'll take it all day. Fridays, Bart and Hahn, 2 o'clock Eastern, ESPN New York, Kaplan and Crew. Fridays, 2:30 Eastern, 11:30 Pacific, giving out winning bets on those programs every week on Fridays. All right. First up, how you doing? Let's talk the best matchup. Let's just talk the best matchup. Let's take the Kansas City Chiefs and the Buffalo Bills, and let's make this a very Chris Berman, concise, short, not long, because I could sit here and give you the long form type sales pitch on this. It's a no-brainer. And I know we're going to do what the public is on. But you know that I bob and weave on the bumper pool lanes when it comes to this because my gambling gut is real. And when I tell you that Mahomes is a favorite of 3 or less, is 26-8-1 to the number, and a dog at 12-1-1 to the number, flat out, you have to believe that the Bills off a 5-win sell high streak is the play despite where they're dancing. And I know you go on the rivalry of this and you say to me, what? Mahomes owns these boys in the playoffs. Josh Tim, the tool-man, owns these boys in the regular season. We got to go to Buffalo. Let me remind you, we on the program have been sensational backing and fading the Kansas City Chiefs. Might I remind you when we've taken them and when we've faded them? I have taken them week 1, obviously in a spot of a number of 3 or less, key numbers I just alluded to. We've said to you so many times when we backed the Bengals week 2, +6 over the Chiefs. What do we know? 3.5 or more, Mahomes is under 50%. I just gave you the number when he's -3 or a dog. It's disgusting. I mean, the cash out's unbelievable. And Andy Reid in the spot's even more of a comfortable lad. It is just under Reid and Mahomes, a 17-6 straight up outright as an underdog spot per wager talk. Let's talk stats. Also from a great pod over there. This I got, I believe, from Ralph Michaels. Just want to cite my sources. Chiefs, number 1 D coming into this at holding opponents to 69 yards under their average. Second best run D at 3.6 per carry. Here's the thing that the Bills flourish at. And Joe, sit yourself back down as a father of 3, cul-de-sac dad. Should not be in the league. Go play with your kids, bud. Those 3 interceptions, park yourself. Rich comes back in. This is a team that just feasts off of incompetence at +13 turnover differential with 19 takeaways. And they are largely in that spot because of Josh Allen not turning the ball over into deep into this season. But Josh Allen, believe it or not, had a couple of mistakes himself over the weekend. Oh, bid you adieu. Are we, by the way, looking now at 3 straight games, 4 interceptions in the last 12 quarters? Yeah, we're staring at that. Fact, not fiction. Turn the ball over against Seattle, Miami, twice against Indy. You don't have that luxury against a Stevie Spags D that's going to coach up and scheme up an unbelievable plan for them. This is a huge, huge number when you hear this. The Bills have faced one top 12 rush defense. Top 12, not even top 10. It was Baltimore. All right. They had under 250 yards total on the game. The average opponent rush D has a rank of 19th. I'm telling you, this is a smothering 80 yards if you're lucky defense from a rushing perspective. They're going to make Josh Allen run around and beat them. And Josh Allen, to me, with the world on his shoulders, was still a supporting cast that I need to Mac Collins. Why take the elevator when you can take the stairs, baby? Have questions about. All right, I'm sorry. Am I allowed to have questions about a Bills offense that, to me, yes, has routed a couple of teams? Yes, still putting up 4 touchdowns a game. You got to give them credit. They've been an excellent team under Joe Brady. But we're not talking about top 10 rushing offensive attack. We're not even talking about a top 10 passing yards offensive attack, which would put Buffalo out of the top 10 in his overall prolific offenses. That's correct. So not moving the ball at a prolific rate from a yards perspective on either side. They're just punching it in. But this is one of the better bend but don't break defenses under Spags. Top 5 defense giving up 17 and some change. Here's the thing. This team, you could go all day saying, is playing with their food. Whatever you want to, metaphor you want to pick. That's fine. I get it. But the Chiefs, it's what Danny Campbell said the other day when we cashed Texans plus 3.5 on the post game and he won. He dressed his team. When you don't have it, great teams find other ways to win. That's just what Kansas City does. So Mahomes, 6 TDs, 1 INT under the Hopkins scenario, or in the last 3, and no interceptions since Hopkins has come in. With that huge stat about this Bills team not being able to run the ball against this club in particular, understanding that this is a much more buttoned up turnover team in the last few weeks with this really pieced together team offensively with so many injuries. I mean, Pacheco goes down, Rice goes down, Hollywood Brown never even sniffs the field. This team's gone through a lot, and all they want to do is be nitpicky. Look, the hat's now backwards. Take the Chiefs plus 2.5. Let's zip over to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Take a towel, start waving it, Jerry, because we're backing a number and a rivalry you want to back in a Action Network phenomenal source article. In the Tomlin Harbaugh era, when you are catching 3+ points in this spot, which we are, +3 at the moment, +3.5 certain spots this week. If you got it, good for you. Take a bow. You're 18-2-3 if you're the dog in this head-to-head under these two coaches going back, Big Ben Flacco, all these years, Bart Scott, T. Sizzle, all the boys. Pick a time and an era, these two men. If you're getting points, you want to back the points. Here's the thing. You have another element. You have Lamar Jackson as a career spot, not nearly as excellent against this Pittsburgh team as he is in the rest of the division. He's also just a 34% cover when he's a favorite in this spot between 3 and 10 points. 15-29-1 if you want the exact ATS number. This is a spot where the dog cashes, and Tomlin, as we know, I won't exhaust you with the numbers again, is the best cash in the last 2 decades as an underdog. And I even gave you the number, if I'm not mistaken, which is now 15 and 7 against the spread covering versus offenses that put up more than 28 points, which is fair here because we're talking about an excellent Baltimore offense. First in yards, first in points at 31.8. But you have to look at the other side of the football. And you got to remind yourself that Pittsburgh is top 4, Kansas City's third, top 4, 87.1 at stopping the run per. You have to factor in also on the other side, this is the worst pass D in the NFL still. Russell Wilson has taken excellent care of the ball. Here's something to really sit on. If you want to take the Ravens, lay 3 on the road, go ahead. Just know that the Steelers are second in the league in turnover differential, and the Baltimore Ravens are not top 5. This is a +9 buttoned up Pittsburgh Steeler team right there with 16 takeaways and has been unbelievable under Russell Wilson. To me, I know this game could go either way. I know you could sit there and say Pittsburgh, heroic comeback. You got to find a way. You have to find a way. How do you sit there and not find a way to sell high off of Pittsburgh, who's looked excellent under Russell Wilson, all things considered? Russell Wilson, to win that game the way they did, the Pickens changing his body mid-direction in the corner, Mikey Williams catching the rock, the go-ahead game winner, and then you win on the hard count. That's Pittsburgh Steelers football, and that's a bonding moment that I just don't want to fade off of that week. Like, that's one of those moments in the Steelers season, if they go anywhere, and I think they're capable of running the table, quite frankly, in the AFC. With Russell Wilson and his leadership, and look, I'm a meditation guy over 11 years now in the game, a big visualization guy. Shout out, Mom, Southern California, baby. How you doing? Look, it works. All right. This man is a leader. You call it cheesy, high knees, whatever. Fine. Him with Tomlin with the shades on, all ball, all business, leadership, leaders of men, all about the work. That's what you want. And I just think it's an excellent pairing. And Harbaugh's a 42% cover as a favorite. And this Ravens team has looked unbelievable. Sure. But this Ravens team still has some questions. I mean, we all love them. A lot of W's. I told you on the show, 0-2 start when we faded them out the gate. I mean, give me them on the road against Dallas. Give me them at home against Buffalo. I mean, we cashed on this team multiple times on the show. Right now is the time to fade them. 1-2 games, blew out Denver. I mean, another win that just was wild. 35-34 that I don't think they should have had against the Bengals, but they're a well-coached team. I'll take history on our side with a number. Steelers +3. All right. I'm going to take a favorite here at home. I'm going to take the San Francisco 49ers -6.5. I just think this is a mental scenario here where Geno Smith, he's just not him. We wrote him and nobody cared about him riding back or not because his numbers against the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, you look at the last 3 scores. You look at what we cashed on a short week on the road Thursday night, which you don't want to take typically on our show on Thursday nights. The road favorite, short work week, tough spot. A lot of teams you've seen fail in that spot. Well, I mean, geez, Geno looked not great. They collapsed the pocket. San Francisco, great at pressuring the quarterback. Good, not great line, really. In Seattle, it's been an issue there for years, plural. And you look at the last 3 games going back under Purdy last year, 31-13, 28-16, double-digit win a few weeks ago, 36-24. I mean, that's double-digit covers across the board. A 3-0 start, a 1-5 since. A team that's looked supposed to be led by McDonald, a defensive-minded team. You know, DK Metcalf hopefully comes back for this game. We get a significantly better defense. Yes. Are they susceptible to giving up points? Yes. Have they looked not as good as they have defensively speaking? Yes, absolutely. There's still a top 10 rush D and still giving up under 200 passing. So this is more about San Francisco's offense hasn't really pieced it together in arguably the entire season. They haven't had health on their side. They're still finding a way to put up 25.9 per. And they're on the right side of the turnover differential. But Purdy and these boys typically play the Seahawks very well. And we're talking about a much healthier team with Brock giving me 8 tuds to 2 INTs in his 4 games against Seattle. And then you're sitting here and saying Geno's turned the ball over more than he's thrown touchdowns against Seattle. And you even see it just a few weeks ago up in the PNW, 2 INTs. I mean, he threw the ball 52 times in that game. It's I understand it's a team off a bye, and I understand you're sitting there off really just pick an LNEL that the Seahawks team has clearly rolled out mediocre wise, incomplete football where they're not playing complementary football. You're asking this offense to play out of their mind. And I mean, that was a really frustrating overtime loss heading into the bye against the Rams. You get smoked by the Bills. You get outgained by the Falcons, yet you get a win, a random win in Atlanta. And you had 3 straight L's behind that. I mean, this team's lost 5 of 6. This team's only beat one quality team, in my opinion, outside of course, Denver week 1, which, first Bo Nix start. I have to take a full strength Niners team, McCaffrey back in action. I mean, Seattle's in the bottom of half in the league in yards per play. They're 21st in EPA per play. I mean, they let Dodson go. He was one of the leading tacklers. I mean, what is going on over there? DK Metcalf doesn't play. This is a long day at the park. I know this is a San Francisco 49ers team that from an against the spread standpoint, you can't feel super comfortable about laying 6.5, but 3 missed field goals. He's not getting a smack Moody on the back of the head, the Italian smack by Debo again, or the long snapper, excuse me. It ain't going to happen. This to me, we've been waiting for this Niners team to really get going. You saw Jennings back in the mix. You saw all these guys just starting to finally play together, and they know mentally they own this team. It's just one of those games in the trenches where the Niners win on both sides. This is a trenches game that both sides go to one side, and we get the home spot, and we got 3 sample sizes, and really just a couple weeks ago of a convincing W. All right, I'm going to be very, very short with this because this is, to me, outside of a spooky scenario of fluke type plays, special teams, lapses, pick sixes, which could happen at this point. Colts, Jets, if I'm dating them, we're on a break and we're probably not going to make it through the holiday season if this is my girlfriend. The Jets have let me down in so many ways. I barely have the energy to talk about it. They're laying 3.5 at minus 200 on the money line at a theater near you. I mean, this is the worst act in town. It is the most talented team with no leadership, no accountability, no Seinfeld conceivable reason for getting up in the morning. I could keep going on this team. They drive me up a Costanza wall. But at 43.5, and it's starting to go down because they've made the call to the bullpen because I don't know if Irsay's over there clicking Dr. Evil buttons. It's not a well-run Indy team that we're used to seeing. They're not well coached, in my opinion. I don't think they have direction at the moment. I mean, how do you go with Flacco and then back to Richardson when you're trying to build rapport and confidence and you know the kid's not accurate and you know the kid's a project and still has training wheels on? You just staffing them and stuffing them after you roll them out knowing that this is not going to be a pretty season with a project? Geez, pal. What is he, Peyton Manning in the Peyton Manning commercial? We understand he's not going to be unbelievable on the canvas out the gate. I digress. Anthony Richardson with this team has not, to me, outside of ironically a Steelers game of all, really popped off offensively. I mean, this is just, in short, an NFL here that is we're watching a product where if you're not buttoned up against buttoned up teams, and these are 2 not buttoned up teams, so this is an interesting spot, not relevant to the observation, but you just see these teams exposed. You see Buffalo come into Indy and take care of that game because Flacco turns the ball over 3 times. But again, this is an Indianapolis Colts team that's just not really, they're meh. They don't score 3 touchdowns on average a game. Defensively, They're good, not great. I mean, they play around New York Giants 22.3 points per game defense. They're not a top 10 run D. I mean, a little better, I guess, at offensively just because of Jonathan Taylor. It's an above average offensive line for sure. But all things considered, they're still not even a top 10 statistical run team. So you just kind of look at what the Jets are and what the Jets aren't. The Jets are not very good, and they're not well coached, and they don't do the little things, and they're scoring 17 points a game on offense, 17.7. And the Colts are scoring 20. And so we're going to sit here with, I still believe a serviceable Jets D that only gives up around 3 touchdowns per game with 2 offenses that don't even get that number on average. And we're going to take the over. No, we're going to take the under. The Jets barely averaging 300 a game. And you got to think, I guess, supposedly at a defense that gives up 20 missed tackles, 400 yards, 31 plus. Kyler Murray was sensational all world, 2 incompletions, that they're going to come a little buttoned up, that they're going to bring a little bit more intensity. And if they've done one thing well this season, one thing well, it's play at MetLife, defensively speaking, with a little more chutzpah than other places. I mean, look at the games and the outings at MetLife. 3 points against New England, 13 total points against the Texans, and 6 points in the second half. And they lost to Buffalo at home, and they lost to Denver at home, but they gave up 23 points to Buffalo, which is pretty solid. It's a top 5 offense, and they gave up 10 points to the Denver Broncos. So you put that all in a mix and mingle on the road, or on the average divider, and you got to say, you're probably, if you had to hypothesize, going to get a pretty good effort defensively from the Jets. You might see this game get busted open if the Jets can't stop the run and Aaron Rodgers lets it fly. This is where I do think, the Colts are a weird team where sometimes they can play teams tight and close. I'm looking at the splits. I cannot wrap my head around this game going to 44 points. 43.5 Scuba Steve under. And this is going to be very difficult because I'm ending emotionally. But the LA Chargers Sunday Night Football hosting the Cincinnati Bengals at essentially a pick'em game, and we've seen line movement. And I guess I'm on the public side here. But I'm going to fade my favorite team that I also hate. And I'm going to take the Cincinnati Bengals to close the program. And this was a team that was laying 2. That's now plus 1.5. So you would obviously think maybe we'd want to get off. I mean, that would make you want to go the other way. Now, I'm sitting here looking at the Chargers, feeling like when they have to play very prolific offenses. Now, T. Higgins is trending towards playing. Hopefully Brown, these are key elements. Brown, I would say more. I'm probably off it if Brown and Higgins are out. But if these dudes are a go, I don't know it'll move the line. But the Cincinnati Bengals, who are fighting for their life at 4-6, are going to be absolutely in the conversation, in the wild card conversation, who started out 0-3, 1-4, really. I mean, outside of the 1-point loss to Baltimore, I mean, Joe Burrow played all world, people. I mean, Joe Burrow had 4 tutties and 428 yards with no interceptions. Here's the thing about this Cincy D. They aren't a good defense, but this Chargers offense is, I mean, at 6-3, sure, you've put up 26-3 straight. It's against the Titans, the Browns, and the Saints. And I'm not going to not say it's not impressive. Look, this is going to be a sad scenario that I'm going to say. The Chargers haven't given up 21 points all season. They're giving up 21 points. And if we're just banking on Joey Burr, Joe Cool, baby, in this spot, all right, where we already know who Joey Burr is, all right, This man as a 2.5-point dog, which is essentially where the number was, two or more. 19-5 cover, winning 10 of the last 16 outright. And Zach Taylor's a 60% cover as a head coach of the Bengals against teams with a 500 record or better. This team's got 2 losses by a point and an overtime loss. So you got to say, all right, the Chargers have been unbelievable. But this Chargers team loses to the Chiefs. They lose to the Cardinals. And they haven't even faced a top 10 passing offense yet across the board. As decent as the Arizona Cardinals are, they don't check that box. I mean, this team throws the ball and airs it out like there's no tomorrow. So for me, it's a little bit of a desperation spot. It's a Bengals team off a loss fighting for their season against an AFC wildcard higher team who's won 3 straight against teams that are going nowhere near January football. I mean, flat out. You also, I mean, I guess if you want to call it a look-ahead spot, Chargers have the Ravens next week, and the Bengals have a bye. So I think there's something to say about a Bengals team knowing if they get a win at a place that's going to be all orange, by the way. Do I even go East Coast accent with it? Orange? All orange. Can I get some orange juice, please, Alex? Listen, it's not going to be a home game for the Chargers. It's going to be a road home game. And I do like me, the Chargers. I love me, the Chargers. But Joe Burrow has taken, I mean, just new heights in the last couple of work weeks. I just look at the Bengals as a team that's going to air it out. I mean, the guy's got 24 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. I mean, he's got double the numbers that Justin Herbert has. And Chase Brown is nowhere near what Mixon is. I mean, this is a top 6 offense against a number 1 D. So something's going to Nicholson give, but I'm looking at a second best pass defense that I think, if I tell you that they haven't faced a top 10 offense yet, and Cincinnati's top 5, this is the Chargers' first real big test. The Chiefs came in, and that was a defensive chess match. The Chargers have gotten to play every game this style. Now they got to play to Joey Burrow style. Joe Burrow lives for these spots. Give me points. Call me a dog. Tell me I'm doubted. Come on. I'm telling you, I could go on. It's emotional, so I don't want to try to sell you otherwise. This is a little bit of a bob and weave spot. I think we're catching points here. I mean, you might be able to catch 2 again, 2.5 if there's a no Chase Brown, no Higgins, which I told you I don't love. So I'm not saying go for it. I'm just saying monitor the number. But if Higgins and Brown are a go, this might be closer to a pick 'em. I think we're getting a Bengals team who's played a little bit better defense, at least in the second half of the first half of the season than they started out the gate. In large part, to getting a little healthier. So we'll take the Bengals at the moment. And again, I inked them at 2. They're at 1.5. I mean, I like them to win the game, but at plus 108 or minus 110, you take the 1.5. Again, I'm giving this to you on a Wednesday. You might get a better number, but I'm going Bengals plus 1.5, even though I put it on Action Network at 2. I'm taking the Chiefs plus 2.5. We're taking the San Francisco 49ers minus 6.5. The Pittsburgh Steelers at home over the Ravens plus 3. And the Scuba Steve Jets Colts under of 43.5. We appreciate you. Sports Gamble with Money Line Monaco. Don't forget to subscribe, rate, review. Much love. Don't forget to hug your mothers. I'll see you next week. Ta-ta, Roseman.